Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me. My name is Ian Blackburn, and I'm here to welcome you to Heroes of Italian Wine, part of our weekly ongoing Zoom into Wine series. Every week, 7 o'clock, we get together and Zoom with people from all over the place to talk about wine, about what's happening in the wine world, and the way the world is kind of affecting our wine lifestyles. I'm going to take off my virtual background. This is my little Zoom room, and we are very thrilled to be able to talk with you all tonight. I see a lot of our friends on here from all over the place, and hopefully everybody got their tasting kits in good order. And let's begin. Learning here. And I'm opening up to see who has joined us so far. A lot of our friends. Thomas, good to see you, sir. Lisa, hope you're doing well. Amy, great to see you again. David and Stephanie Chapman, thank you so much. Gary and Kathy, thank you. Satsuko, Bob, Josh and Jen. Awesome. Kent, always great to see you, sir. Thank you for joining us. Tonight, I'm going to be tasting out of my Zalto glass. These are like taking wine, the art of wine, to another level. The way they feel in the glass, the hand, it's like magic how thin the glass is. And so we get a Zalto allocation once a year. Those glasses just arrived, and we kind of offer an opportunity to use them. You could buy one glass, you could buy 10. They're gone when they're gone. They're all handmade, so they can't even keep up with production. I get an allocation on these glasses. So I'm excited to taste with you too, Jen and Josh. Thanks so much. Let's go into wine number one and click through Manoncourt. Now, I want to tell you, sometimes topicality sends me to find wines that fit. Sometimes it's I'm trying to show, hillsides and valley floors and old vines and new producers. Not this time. This time it just went through my store, which is filled with things that I have picked personally that I really like, that I really want to stand behind, that I want to make you aware of. And I picked some great wines, and wine number one is no exception. So before I say anything redundant, I get right into our video and introduce Manoncourt. And we're starting off our show tonight with a white wine from the brand Manoncourt. We have Michael, the owner of Manoncourt, on the Zoom with us right now. And Michael, good morning from LA. Good evening in Italy.
Hello. Great hello here from Alto Adige, and it's a very important time for us because we're in the middle of harvest.
Here's a picture of winemaker Helmuth Zosen, who's up to his eyeballs in grapes right now, right, Michael?
Yeah, he's the winemaking director, so he is in charge of the qualities. We work together since 2018. And I'm very happy to have such a wonderful professional winemaker with me.
You are family descendants from the origins of the winery that are over 400 years old.
Yeah, the winery was established and built by the Manoncourt family. And my many times grandfather married the daughter Manoncourt. So we are lucky to live on this estate. Beautiful view to the lake with the mountains in our back. We have vineyards, some slopes, some flatter vineyards, but small lots.
The vineyards are very influenced by their exposition, their steep hillside locations, the Dolomite Mountains. Did you say you have both red volcanic and?
Yes. And the dolomite is chalk. So the Dolomites are close and the wonderful rocky and skiing area.
The property is, there's the house to the left and the tasting room to the right, and you can see the vineyards falling up the side of the hill, and this provokes lower yields. It provokes more spatial competition. You've got very probably low vigors soils here with a rock and minerality. It's a really
lot of hand labor on the slope. So we have many hours. We do everything. All the harvest is done by hand, so hand harvest. And our vineyards reach from about 600 feet elevation to 1,800 feet of elevation. So it gives, that also explains why there's just such a great variety of grape varieties in Alto Adige.
Tasting room, outdoors. Imagine being there right now and smelling that nice, cool mountain breezes and zesty. So here's another unique feature of the wine that we're trying tonight. It is Pinot Bianco with Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc. It's an incredible value proposition as well.
Since the varieties of this combination of varieties is very typical for Terlano. So it's a special Terlano DOC. And even, of course, we do only spontaneous fermentation, and the wine lives all its life in big oak, but you would never taste the oak. So our idea is to let the wine live and mature for a long time, and so it can really age well. But it's a very refreshing wine, and no oaky taste. But the oak barrels are very important for the wine itself, for the longevity. So
when you make this wine, are you co-fermenting all three varieties at the same time?
No, we ferment them separately and we make the blend later. The stainless steel really keeps the wine close, and we want it to be open and alive. So that's why we keep it always in oak barrels, but bigger ones.
You do encourage people to drink this fairly early on without much aging?
Well, you can drink it early, but
this wine is $25 on our website, and I would argue it's really hard to compete with anything that has got this much going on, this much quality, the quality marks, the authenticity. I'm interrupting our little video because we got a fun guest coming on to join us, and good friend of mine. I want to introduce you to my friend. He's going to come on in a second. But he got cut off there. The wine that we were tasting can age like 10 years and really can take on some really cool notions as it gets older. So I was talking earlier today with my friend James Suckling, and I told him what we were doing tonight. James said he would stop by and say hi. James, you're in Hong Kong? Let me take you off of mute, buddy. I think I muted you on the way in.
Hello?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, how are you?
Good, James.
Hey, it's a bit early here in Hong Kong to be tasting Italian wine. I guess if I went to the office, I could do it professionally, but I'm still at home, so that's my excuse.
Well, we're just now tasting the Manencore, and this is the 2021 that you gave 92 points.
Yeah, Manencore makes amazing wine. It's they actually are Demeter certified, so biodynamically farmed vineyards. A really cool combination of a beautiful modern winery, and he has amazing vineyards in the Dolomites. So lots of granite and schisty soils. and high altitude. So it really gives you a beautiful freshness and brightness to the fruit.
Loved it. I love it. I've loved it every time I've tried it. It's a very
Yeah.
consistent fine too.
They also, if you get the chance, look out for their reds, like Pinot Noir, which is really excellent, a lighter, fresher style. And I think you'd really like that.
Very cool. Well, what have you tasted recently that's blown your mind?
Well, I'm keen right now on Sicily. I was down there about 3 weeks ago, and I think that everyone knows Etna's fantastic. Nerello Mascalese is a wonderful grape. Although this year you'll see, just a heads up, that production's down this year because of peronospora or mildew. So they lost a lot of the crop across Italy, but particularly in the south. And also, another thing you should look into is Nero d'Avola, particularly from the area of Noto, which is really fantastic. They've moved away from big jammy wines and really making much more fresher and more terroir driven, like minerally wines. And I think I'm excited about that as well.
I love going to
So
Sicily.
there's always Vittoria, which also makes great Nero d'Avola, and Frappato.
Yeah,
So I
the
think
Chernueva,
get the
right?
chance, yeah. Yeah, Cereswola. If you get a chance, look for those wines from producers like Kos or Occhipinti. Occhipinti, Adriana, is actually the niece of the owners of Kos. So those are exciting. And then 2020 Barbarescos are looking good. I just did a big report on 2019 Brunello. So that's coming out in January. And those are going to be really beautiful structured wines that and really more elegant in style, less wood, and more in the style of like 97 or 2004. So lots of good things coming out of Italy. This year we rated 8,000 wines from Italy, and in total we rated already 34,000 wines. So there's a lot of great wine out there this year.
You're on fire. I can't believe how much you are
Yeah.
producing massive events around the world too, different parts of Asia and down in Miami, New York. We won an event in LA, James.
Yeah, well, let's work on that. So I
Okay.
hope to bring great wines of the world back to Los Angeles, and it would be really great. So probably in early March. So I look forward to seeing you all there, and come as my guest. So Ian will sort that out.
We'll get you on there for being
All
a
right. Well, yeah, nice to see you all. I got to head out, but I just told Ian I'd say hi to everyone. Enjoy the tasting.
Thanks, James. Awesome to see you. We'll see you in March.
Okay, brother. Thanks. Bye, everyone. Enjoy the tasting.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Wow, that's always cool when James can stop by and say hi. And he's a really fun man. I got to work for him for a couple of weeks doing some writing at he rents a villa in Tuscany that the Ferragamos own. And all these producers, every meal period has a different producer coming. So he's got a staff that's just there making appointments for the producers to come, and they bring the wines. Then the wines are put into like containers to be tasted as a set, as a flight with all the same producers. And so the meal is actually spent either drinking somebody else's wine or doing, talking about something else. Maybe even we're drinking Burgundy and he's got a Brunello producer there. So we're not tasting their wines with them, but it's a real serious operation. And we taste like 200 wines a day as a team. There's a whole bunch of us writing, and we pass them around, and another person reviews it, and then James gets the final say. So it's really an incredible process of how he went from being a writer at the Wine Spectator to probably one of the most important wine writers in the world today, with his incredible production and output. So always great to have him, and he's certainly one of the most knowledgeable on Italian wines as well, because he wrote for the Wine Spectator on Italy for years, so he speaks perfect Italian. His family also speaks perfect Italian, and it's just really great. And he's very good friends with Sting, by the way. Let's see. So I interrupted that Manicore to be able to make that timing happen right there. But I thought the segue worked out pretty well. Beautiful wine, right? 25. So this goes into my list of, like, someone calls me up and says, I'm going to have a dinner party, big one, 30 people, 40 people. I want a wine that's going to blow them away for not a ton of money. I think this wine could do so much damage to really impress people, because you're not going to see it in a grocery store anywhere. They don't make that much of this wine. This is, Demeter certified, teeny producer, $25. It's just insane to me that you could get a wine that tastes that good for $25, and it has so much going for it. So I'm a big fan, and I hope you guys are now as well. There's barely any of it out there. I can get as much as I want right now. So hurt me. And we're starting off our hurt me and buy it all. I got about 4 cases in inventory right now. And I like to buy this 10 cases at a time. So they remember who I am. It's a way to do it. And someday they'll come to California, and I'll probably try to do something with them. But we are not going to stop there. We've got so much to cover, so much great wine to talk about. And our next wine, can everybody see the screen with the Pablo Bea on the screen? Is that happening for everybody? Okay, good. So this is a teeny producer that just, man, if you've not tried a wine from him before, I'm even more pumped to be able to introduce you to this one. If you have tried these wines, maybe this is why you came to the Zoom today, because this guy is pretty legendary. And the wine that we're tasting tonight, mind-blowing. I'm not going to say any more. Let's watch the video and then we'll talk. Heroes of Italian wine allow me to talk to so many fantastic people. Recently, I had a magical experience with Paulo Bea. I'm going to introduce you to Clark Bowling. He is the producer liaison for Rosenthal Wine Merchant.
I'm sitting at our office in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, in a little tiny room that's way too brightly lit. And that's why it looks like I'm floating in a.
Tell us about how you got in touch with this wine. How did you become the importer?
There's a very interesting story behind this importer producer relationship, which began a long time ago. So Neil Rosenthal, the founder of our company, started in the late 70s. He was a retailer at the time, and then after a while, he began to travel to Europe to look for his own wineries to import. So yeah, it's been a great history, and this, as you said, is a skin contact wine, deeply orange in color, but it was really early in that crest of rediscovering orange wines. So this has been made since like the early 2000s, and Bea was at the forefront of that resurrection.
And everything that Bea makes has got that ethos behind it, right?
Absolutely. I mean, what he's really trying to do is to recapture and revitalize a very old way of making wine.
On this picture at the bottom, and I paused to advance to the next slide because is that the Trebbiano grape sitting there getting some age, or is that a different?
That is some Trebbiano there. So what he does with Arboreus, the wine we're discussing today, is pretty interesting. So in addition to this skin maceration that he does for an extended period of time during the fermentation, he'll also do a tiny percent, maybe 1 to 2% based on the vintage, in pasito style, which means he'll let the Trebbiano dry in natural air flowing rooms on these racks until they get really shriveled. Then he'll make a really highly concentrated wine out of that and add it to the Arboreus for additional layers of complexity. It's like a really subtle addition of a spice or something, but it adds to the texture of the wine for sure, and the aromatic spectrum.
Maybe a little out of order here, but just so people know where we're at, we're in Umbria. and in particular, is it Montefalco, the town? And so,
Montefalco.
yeah, there's some great wines, and I think Umbria continues to impress me as, like, you know, the quality at the top of the food chain of Umbria can compete with the best wines in the world, and there's some
Absolutely.
really amazing stuff. So how long has the winery been in existence? Is this the first or second generation then?
Well, Paulo, I believe his ancestors also made wine here, but for many, many years, it was really more in the model of a lot of Italian families in the past, where, you know, it was a farm where they had their pigs and their other animals and their crops, and wine was just part of that. And they'd make wine for the family. And Apollo is the quintessential Umbrian farmer. And Giampiero is the one who sort of realized, you know, that this artisanal low-tech tradition had something to say to the wider world. So he kind of figured out how to bottle and label and present the wines to, you know, a slightly larger audience. But the family has been making wine for a very long time.
And this is a storied producer. You know, I was talking before we started to record about how, you know, this producers, not, you don't always get to taste wines in this business of wine. This wine is so allocated and so hard to get. And so I'm super thrilled to be able to include it in tonight's program. It's something very unique, something very different, something very rare. And now with, you know, 20 plus years, 30 plus years of it being in your distribution, you guys have elevated it in the minds of wine personalities, because everybody has like an epiphany when they taste these wines. These are wines that just make you go, what am I tasting and what is happening here? And so this is a real special treat. I only get a little bit of this wine. We may sell out of it, and that's okay. We'll be ready to buy it again when it comes back around. But if you like this wine, I would highly encourage you to get involved, potentially even to look out past this wine into the other wines that this producer creates, which we carry a couple. This wine that we're tasting tonight is 100% Trebbiano, and as Clark was telling us, you know, pretty unique and storied, very historic process. How do we pronounce the name of the wine? Arboreus?
Arboreus is how I always hear Giampiero pronounce it. And he likes to use a lot of Latin in his naming of wines as sort of an additional nod to the genesis of these wine growing areas. But the root of Arboreus is the word for tree. And to look at these vineyards is really staggering, because, you know, everyone has seen vineyards where the vines are planted in neat rows and trained along little wires and look really clean and perfect. This is truly wild winemaking. I mean, there's a grove of trees in this town called Spoleto, hence the name Trebbiano Spoletino. And these trees are enormous, very old trees, and the vines of Trebbiano, rather than being trained in the manner that we're accustomed to, are just growing right next to the trees, wrapping themselves around the trunks and the branches of these enormous trees. And, you know, Bea doesn't need to prune them. He doesn't need to de-leaf them or anything. It sort of relies on the plant intelligence to get it into position to where the fruit is ripened properly. And of course, the tree acts sort of like a pergola, in that it keeps the fruit elevated high above the ground, away from pests, and it allows for a lot of air circulation around the fruit as it's ripening. And these vines are very, very old. Some of them are 150 years old. And, you know, it's about as low interference as you can imagine in terms of how he handles the crops.
So I was serious when I took this out, as I thought it was a white wine. It says white wine even on the label, but obviously we look at it and it's a little bit more into the orange category, which this wine kind of predates people calling them orange wines. And it's, can you tell us, you know, once the grapes are picked and they got these two
different lots. You're making a base wine, and then you're adding in that oxidized those clusters that are sitting there in that box that we looked at the beginning. You're allowing that wine to oxidize. What else are they doing to this wine before bottling?
Well, Bea's goal really is to do as little as possible to the wine in order to get it into bottle. So basically the grapes are crushed by their natural weight at first to get the fermentation going. And the fermentations here always start naturally and spontaneously. There's never any addition of yeasts, and there's also never any manipulation of the temperature to get it going. Because Bea has such a robust yeast environment in his cellar and on the grapes, because of the way he treats the grapes in the vineyard, fermentations tend to start beautifully. And one of the cool things about his wines is that they're all labeled with a lot of interesting information. So you can see on the label this 2015, the number 22 there, that's 22 days on the skins. So the wine basically gets a 22-day maceration. And that's not really something he sets out to be exact about. That's just what he feels the wine clocks in at a good amount at. And as the solid materials start to fall through, he realizes that the fermentation is done. And then he allows the wine to settle for an additional 191 days on the gross lees, which is just all the stuff. And that is very different from the way most white or even most orange wine is made. Bea lets all the stuff settle and lets it reach a nice equilibrium so that he can bottle without any filtration or without any fining. So he wants to have all the stuff in the final product. And in terms of additions, all he adds is a little bit of sulfur. He even puts it on there. I believe it's probably around 50 to 60 milligrams per liter of total sulfur. And that's very little, especially for a wine that's spent several years in élevage. Very little sulfur, and he adds it incrementally. So rather than adding it all at once, he'll do a tiny adjustment here and there if he feels the wine is going a little bit off the rails. And then that also helps the sulfur levels stabilize within the wine and helps you bottle a more stable product at the very end.
Really unique, really different, really special. Carries a price tag around $80 a bottle. And that's a very competitive price, so check it out. But I think it's a wine that now that you've tasted, now that you've seen it, you'll make an opinion about it. We're going to taste it together now, Clark, with our group. I want to thank you for being our lifeline on this wine to be able to learn more about it. And you're obviously a wealth of information, and I appreciate you very much.
Thank you so much, Ian. I really appreciate you asking me to do this, and I hope that everybody it gets a lot out of this wine.
Awesome. Clark is like the perfect wine guest. Super articulate, and his following my slideshow well and allowing me to ask him questions. Not always the case when you're Zooming with the people that maybe don't speak perfect English. I think that's a lead into one of my up and coming videos, but super cool, different, right? And I don't know that it will make everybody a fan. It is definitely, in the extreme land. Orange wine, basically oxidized and made with a fresh wine and a rack dried aged berry, and that's where they achieve this really interesting presence in the glass. It's a white that drinks like a red to me and has some really cool food implications. I took it out to dinner to a top LA restaurant, and the sommelier looked at me when I pulled that bottle out, and they're like, "Oh yeah, something cool, fun." And wait till you have that with the food here. That's going to work out so great. And squash blossoms, mother wolf, do it. So good. Really, really fantastic spot. All right, moving into any comments, any questions, anything you want to say about the Bea Arboris?
Your comment about tomatoes is truly great. That's what it is. It's a tomato.
Yeah, smells like you're picking a tomato plant. Thomas, what did you think of that? Did you like it?
Yes, I do.
All right. We got Kent's
No,
support.
Ian, I was on mute, sorry. It's I've never tasted anything quite like that before. It actually reminds me a little bit of sherry, and that's got to be the oxidation that's in it. I agree with the tomato smell coming from it, and I was just wondering what I would eat with this, and maybe I don't know, gazpacho or something like that. I don't know. I think would go well with it, but it's an interesting, yeah, not a natural one, thankfully.
Yeah, well, it kind of predates natural wines.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
the original gangster of natural wines. And at its price point, it probably isn't really into the natural wine groove. Producers like this and a few other legendary producers like Nicolas Joly, who kind of get, told the world this is what we can do naturally, and people are like, oh, I get it. So yeah. Oh, Lisa, awesome idea. Saffron risotto. How about that? That sounds pretty good there, Lisa. Yes, Jen and Josh. Well, I love how interesting the wine is, and kind of makes you think maybe there's some other things to gain from some of these old school ideas, if it can be done well. Not every natural wine tastes like that, I promise you that. All right, wine number 3. And I got to take a group. In fact, a number of people on the Zoom tonight went with me to Sicily, and there's the arborist there. Sorry. We went to Sicily and we stayed at the Planeta Resort, which is magical, and the kind of place where you're going to go and really optimally slow down. We kind of sped up. we had really busy schedules and stuff, so a lot of the guests stayed up extra late or got up extra early to really enjoy the resort, the pool, the beach, the long hikes and roads, and taking a run, taking a bike ride. It's just like kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And the Planeta brand has been kind of a revolutionary force in Sardinian or Sicilian wine, sorry. And in fact, back when I was selling wine back in the 90s, this producer was like making Sicilian Chardonnay, Cabernet, and Merlot for the California palate, because they were I mean, it's such a warm and California-like climate down there that everything was ripening and tasting delicious, and we were running out of wine. So they were kind of an answer to that problem. And over time, they've had to modify and upgrade. And along the way, some great discoveries and revelations came along. We took the group to this facility that wasn't even that close to the resort. It was actually quite a hike. When we get there, we took a tour with the daughter of the founder of Planeta, and she took us out into the vineyards and walked us around. And it's just it's really amazing. Multiple generations involved in the property, and they make just benchmark wines, whether it's the Victoria wine that James was mentioning, which is a DOC, or it's the wine off of Etna that we're going to try tonight. They really attack the quality. And here's a look at the family, and they're all involved. And we were very, very fortunate to spend our afternoon with her and to be able to walk the vineyards and to see the property in action. So during the 1990s, the grandfather Vito really was the the thinker and building the vineyards and getting things set up. But the later generations had to respond to all the changes in the trends and the different rules and laws, etc. And they made some really wise choices and started to really protect their ecosystems and making sure that they have the right, sources of water, because the island like literally almost ran out of water. So they had to develop their own protections for that. They bought lands and started doing things to the lands to make sure that they're eco safe and eco sustainable. So now they're very dedicated to making sure that Sicily is an important player in the world, not only of tourism but in wine, the wine tourism world. And this is the view from almost from my room, as I'm standing next to the pool looking out towards the ocean. And we went down here to the ocean. There's a little seafood restaurant that we went and raided their wine list and drank some delicious wines from. And we toured this barrel room. And the wine that we're trying tonight, though, is Norello Mascalese, and this is off of Mount Etna. Mount Etna is a very active volcano. In fact, right now, you may not be able to land at the airport in Taormina because the volcano is spewing ash and fire into the sky. And so this is some of the youngest, most active soils in the world at the moment. And literally the geography of Etna is changing on a daily basis. And this is why this is such an exciting category, because this isn't all that organized yet, but it's getting there fast. Literally, when we were there, we crossed paths with a young lady who's made a map of Sicily, and I have it right here somewhere. She's mapping out all of the vineyards, organizing it, trying to get things elevated. There will be a DOC, a DOCG. The Gaia family came in and bought a huge parcel. So you got Gaia wines from Sicily now. And I have the white wine, the Catarratto from this island. I would make it a white wines of Italy event and include that one for sure. Someday we'll do a Sicily event because there are just so many cool little wines off of Sicily. But the Catarratto off of off of Etna is really, really cool. And also this Norello, which is the red, sometimes blended with another Norello clone, makes the red wine that we just know as Etna Rosso. Okay. And the Norello Mascalese, if I were to compare it to anything, it might be something like Pinot Noir, like Beaujolais, like Grenache. This is a 2018. These wines take some time to develop. They don't have the thickest of skins, so therefore kind of Pinot-like, kind of Nebbiolo-like. Also, I guess you gotta kind of think of it like 4 dimensions that way. I see some chats coming in. I'll look at those here. Yeah. Not yet a DOCG on Mount Etna yet, though. It's there's only a single DOC yet, I believe that's true.
Solo di Vittoria is the DOCG.
Is it a G or is it just a C?
It's definitely a G.
Okay, thank you.
I had to take a test on it.
Excellent. Well, yeah, and the fact that that wine precedes having a DOC even established in Etna shows you, how kind of unorganized it is, because the wine that is a DOCG is a blend. And that's a really unique thing to have happen. It's not a single grape variety. It's just a wine of a place, and that's a great place, a beautiful wine. But it just blows my mind that that was the first and only DOCG of Sicily.
Yeah,
So
Yeah. really old.
here,
Yeah.
what do you think of this one?
Oh, I love it. And the white you left out was the Caracante from Etna is great too.
Oh, that's what I meant to say. What did I say? I said something different. Yeah, Caracante. What did I say? I think I said Catarato.
Yes, that's what you said. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah, Catarato versus Caracante. But they were both grape varieties used to make dessert wine and the different type of Marsala wines. They were all Marsala grape varieties. And now they're starting to be honed as superior wines as they respond to better grape growing conditions, lower yields, tighter spacing, and higher expectations, basically. And that's what we've got here with this Norello and this particular bottling by Planeta, who makes simpler bottlings, but this one carries a little higher expectation. And Robert Parker, 93 points, about 14,000 bottles produced. It was really a great discovery to get there, to travel around, to see the different small producers. That's another thing about this particular wine. When you look at Italy and they start talking about Brunello and Barbaresco and Barolo, you're talking about producers that make, quite a bit of wine. Not the case here. The, vineyards are being picked and planted like Burgundy, 1 acre, 1 hectare at a time on the volcano. And they're making wines from those single sites too. So I think in the years to come, you're going to have a spectrum of wines, from the low end being kind of Mount Etna reds, to very high end. I mean, it's already there. The footprint's already there. You can already find these wines. There's already a couple examples at every price point, but the really will take off over time, especially when you get families like Gaia involved. So it's a super exciting category. When I smell the wine, I think it really takes me back to standing on the volcano, smelling that soil, that decomposing soil, that active black sooty soil, which is really a difference between this volcano and other volcanoes, is the composition of the stone that it's spewing. It's just so different. And so you can really smell that kind of black energy in the glass. It's got just tons of spice and rock and minerality. And texturally, there's another comparison to that Pinot Noir, kind of a little bit of whole cluster, some stem inclusion, and a lot of really interesting merits to get from a bottle of wine like this. And the pricing is still fairly, in check at around $50 for their highest end version. This is a very good value proposition. And pretty well distributed here in Los Angeles. You can get it at some great restaurants. I hope you enjoyed that. Planeta, excuse me, is making some really fantastic wines in all their different varietal selections. I'm a fan, and I own a number of them in the store, but I chose this Norello Marscalese, because I do believe it offers the right amount of quality marks and approachability for people to recognize quality. There are a number of them that I could have picked, and I do carry about 5 or 6 of them in the store at the current time. Wendy, I'm glad you liked it. Thank you for joining us. Caricante, yes, Caricante. Looking at some notes, Jen and Josh. Nice pepper, spice, hints of vanilla. Excellent.
Super fun.
Yeah, super. Thanks for popping in there, Josh. All right, let's go. We're gonna head into wine number 4. Podera Poggio Scalette. This is a really important estate. They make a top wine called Il Carbognare, and this is a wine that they make called Capogatto. Now, I went in looking for a Carbognare, which is sold out. I did sell a ton of that wine in prior vintages. The distributor just made a small order for 17 and didn't go very far. So it came in with this Capogatto, and I was really, really impressed. So let's go into the video before I duplicate anything. And we are actually tasting with.
Thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. It was a real pleasure.
The wine that we're tasting today
It's a
is
Bordeaux blend. That's Yuri. Then you have Claudio, the mom and dad.
Dad?
I'm the one nearby my dad, and then finally my oldest brother Roberto.
all right.
So the Capogatto wine was born just for fun, just for us, just to see how Mother Nature was treating us on the supply of the fruit. And actually, the first vintage, the vines were planted in 2004, as we mentioned it. The first vintage was in 2007, 8, a small amount. And the results were very, very interesting. But then in 2009, and the produced wine was just for family consumption. No absolutely idea to marketing it, okay, together with the Carbonaione, and start the production and selling of the Capogatto. The Capogatto, as I mentioned, is a wine that do not take the name from the prevalence of the grapes, the vineyard, but the Capogatto is a name that Yuri liked it. Yuri liked it because the right translation to English of Capogatto is the head cat, okay, but doesn't have any meaning on the cat. The Capogatto is the name given years ago, centuries ago, before the Phylloxera sickness, to grow new vines. And as you can see, it has an aging of about 18 months in small new barrels, oak French, and then an additional minimum of 2 to 3 months in refining in bottle.
You know, the zone that this is growing in is traditionally a Chianti growing zone, but because of your brother's passion for the Bordeaux varietals and his love of France and French women, it sounds like. Plus a growing opportunity in the kind of that super Tuscan marketplace that has quickly developed. I mean, we're talking about a marketplace where, you know, the DOC wasn't really even formed until the 1960s and has been continually evolving.
certainly our Capogatto cannot be, how do you say, compared to a Bordeaux blend from the Tuscan coast. They are both excellent, but they are both of them are giving you really a different expression. The Capogatto, useless to mention you the typical characteristic supply new on the bouquet, on the taste, on the nose, blah, blah, blah. But what I would like to highlight is the elegances of the wine that Mother Nature, the terroir, is supplying us. Okay, the Capogatto is certainly a wine compared to Tuscan cousin, Tuscan coast Bordeaux blends, or the French cousin Bordeaux wines, is more ready to be enjoyed.
Well, I tasted this wine towards the end of last year. And I think the profile here is you get that real signature. I mean, you can grow Bordeaux varieties, but you can still tell this is from Italy because it's got so much great acidity and the styling, the nose, that connection with the earth and that minerality just comes shining through. And that's a testament to your willingness to take some chances and to be kind of pioneers in this area, and putting the reputation of your estate on the bottle as well.
Yeah.
And so kudos to you guys. I thank you very much for joining us and sharing this wine with us. Is there anything particular about 17 that you'd like us to know?
17 is thanks to the 15, 16, and 17 vintages, where certainly the excellent balance on the production side. Lovely climates, correct, let's say correct climate all over the year, you know, with the maturation of the vines themselves in a correct way, not too much stressful as actually we had in the last years. Okay, so certainly the Capogatto 2017 is we are talking about the 17, am I right?
Right.
Okay, so the 2017 is a vintage, ideal vintage to be tasted today, and as well you can leave it there and forget about it for some years, and the wine itself will refine and bottle and give you even a higher expression in years to come.
Well, it is gorgeous, and it's wonderful to hear from you and to meet you online here. We'll see you in person in the future when our visits bring us to Tuscany or Vinitaly or some tasting internationally. Hopefully come to Los Angeles and we can do something with.
Thank you very much for your time too, Talia. Have a good day.
Grazie.
Ciao.
I have to laugh because my editor cut out the story about his brother who was romancing some French ladies, and that's why he wanted to make a Bordeaux blend. kind of the heart of that story got on the cutting floor. But we do have to keep these videos, you know, into a certain time frame. Telling an Italian person to present their wine in 6 minutes, 7 minutes is very difficult to do. It's tough for anybody around the world, but particularly the Italians. They're very, very talky and fun and fantastic. I've always liked the wines from this estate, and to note that this is 25% Cab Franc, Petit Verdot, and Cab Franc, Petit Verdot, and Merlot. So 25% each. And that is the blend behind this baby here. It's about $60 a bottle, and just really showing off. And I want to also note that, you know, in the past decade, there's been some really important vintages. 15 and 16 get a lot of credit, but in more difficult vintages, and 17 was a more difficult vintage, we see the producers make some very severe selection. We see them really have to go after making the best wine they can, and it might not be that much of it in volume in production. But here we are 5-6 years later, and the 17s are glorious. And I really think in some ways 17s are probably tasting maybe even better than the great 16s now, because 16 was such a good vintage. They made wines that will probably need 10 plus years to really kind of hit their potential. And this wine's showing really beautiful. It's got a lot of detail, a lot of complexity. And because it was a 17, I got a great price on it. If it was a 16, they sell it for full price and keep it really, closer to $100 for the same wine. So we get a nice price break, and we get a great wine that will age in a wonderful way. It's definitely a wine of place. It's definitely a wine of Tuscany, as he mentioned, a little different than what you're going to get from a wine like Sassicaia on the coast. That may ripen a little differently and have a little bit more extravagance. This wine's just truly a wonderful Italian expression, and I do enjoy it. Moving on into wine number 5. And whenever you're out at an Italian restaurant, and you'll probably see a wine from this estate on the Tuscan section, check out the prices. You'll see, a wine like that is, many restaurants, Capogatto's, $250, $300 a bottle. So being able to get it for a pretty nice price tonight.
Thank you for joining us today.
$58.95. We move into wine number 5, and we heard James earlier talking about the excitement of the 18s coming in. This is a wine category that requires the wines to have 5 years of age, and that could be a couple of years in bottle and several years or a couple of years in barrel, a couple of years in bottle. And but 5 years before they're basically released, I think that clock officially starts with the start of harvest, September, October, something like that. So 18s are on their way, but this is a magnificent property and a storied property and a wow property as well. Let's watch the video and then we'll talk about the wine. Heroes of Italian Wine takes us all over Italy. And now we're going to Tuscany, to the hills of Montalcino. Our guest today is Selena Pitalis, hospitality at Castiglione del Bosco. Did I pronounce all that okay?
Yeah, it's Castiglione del Bosco, but a really good pronounce. Yeah.
And you're representing your winemaker, Cecilia, who's in harvest at this very moment, probably, right?
Yeah, we just finished the last grape 3 days ago, and Cecilia is with us. It's been like 20 years in Castiglione del Bosco, because her first harvest was 2003, actually. So it's been a long time with this really beautiful winemaker, and so vintage after vintage, yeah. We are in Tuscany. We are close to Siena. It's basically just half an hour far from Siena. That is the biggest city. We are in the wild countryside, and the small township famous for Brunello di Montalcino is actually Montalcino.
And one of the most beautiful places on earth. Did you tell me that you grew up here too?
Yeah, I basically grew up here. I was born in Siena and I grew up in this beautiful land. This is a picture of our only Brunello vineyard. On property, we have just one Brunello vineyard with 42 hectares of Sangiovese. That's the only grape we can use for the Brunello di Montalcino production.
And how large is the property?
So the property is quite big. It's located in the north part of Montalcino Township. And if we speak about the land, it's more than 5,000 acres. Even if 80% is covered by forest, and all these beautiful images that you can see, it's actually part of the same property because we are divided in 3 departments. So the winery with this beautiful vineyard you can see, but also a really beautiful hotel. It's managed by the International Rosewood Group, and also a really nice golf club. So yeah, it's not just wine.
You've got it all there.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. And here's the winemaker with
Here you can see our dog and our winemaker, our labels, and our beautiful cellar too. Consider on property we have just one part and one winery, a structure all together. So I'm in the office, but next to me we have the cellar, we have the fermentation all together. So the peculiarity of our property is to have 5,000 basically hectares, but 80% it's forest. That's our name, Castiglione del Bosco. Bosco in Italian means forest. And you can see this beautiful picture, this beautiful video from the upper part. All our Brunello vineyard is covered, and all around we have this really beautiful forest. And it's like really, really help us because it's really rich in biodiversity. So we have big fence against the wild boar and all the wild animals we have here. But if we speak about biodiversity, about the microclimate we have here, it's really, really one of the best thing we could ask for. This is our, was past the fermentation and aging room. So we are so traditional. We ferment in stainless steel tank for the maceration and fermentation of our grape, and then age in French barrels. Actually, we have both barrels and the typical Tuscan oval big cask. So if we speak about the style, we are so traditional. Our winemaker always looking for elegant wine, not too much opulent or strong.
And I will pay a compliment every time I taste the wines of your estate. It's not just that it's a beautiful property. These wines are truly at the top of the charts. Really, really beautiful, thoughtful. And I carry both the Normale, the Brunello, as well as the Reserva store. And these are incredible wines that you can enjoy. I also will say that today we're really focused on tasting some of the great 2017 wines, because 15 and 16 got a lot of press, but 17 wines are really starting to show off right now. And you can see the group that's Zooming with us will be tasting the wine in just a moment. But it is a glorious wine, and
it's really, really balanced between acidity and the tannins, and incredibly drinkable, because it's we have to think that yes, it's 2017 vintage, but if we count the winemaking process that is mandatory for Brunello, it's 5 years before we're able to release on market. So basically it's 2017, but plus 5 years, it's really just 1 year old wine. So generally it's too acid or too tannic, especially those vintage who are really well known to be a long aging potential, high aging potential. But the 2017 was really, really approachable immediately. So you can enjoy it now, but have also the acidity and to age more. That's not an easy thing.
the wine received 94 points from James Suckling.
Yeah.
And and this is just one of the many great scores that it gets on an annual basis. But we'll taste with the group now. And it was great to be able to Zoom with you. You're a great ambassador for your brand.
Thank you. Our pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you a lot. And we wait for welcome you also here in Montalcino.
Yeah, if maybe we get a group to come to the property.
Sure, could be a great idea.
All right. Well, hopefully we'll get to meet you when we do that.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Heroes of Italian wine.
All right. Well, lovely host and very articulate. Loved speaking with her about this wine. She obviously, I mean, she grew up in Brunello, and good for Bosco finding such a fantastic representative. It's great. The this wine sells at a $67.95 price point. Very competitive out there. All of our prices are really close to, you know, if they're not in the top 3 on Wine Searcher inside of California, then you know, I probably can't even buy the wine. So I work hard to buy the right wine, and we work very thin on the margins. You get a nice discount tonight too. Don't forget your discount code. Some of them will not discount further. This is one of them, because this is Brunello, and Brunellos come in, they're expensive. Did you know that Brunello maintains the highest average price point of any wine in the world? There's no such thing as a $10 Brunello. There's no such thing. There's a Rosso di Montalcino, and those sell for less, but Brunello di Montalcino as a category really kind of starts around $50. And if you find something under 50, there's probably a reason why it's under 50, and it's not always the greatest reason. These guys are getting more expensive too, and the Reservas, forget about it. They're like $200. In fact, the what is called Montecento or something like that we have, the Reserva from Bosco, it's 100-point Reserva, or 99 points. It's like way up there. They are unbelievable, and those have to be held 7 years. So our current vintage on that wine is either 15 or 16. And so if you really want a special occasion wine, this could you know, definitely should be considered. We just did a 100-point dinner recently, and included a 100-point Brunello di Montalcino. And you know, when we do these 100-point dinners, we're able to taste these epic wines right next to each other. 100-point Brunello, 100-point Barolo, 100-point Bordeaux, Napa Cabs, on and on and on. Shiraz from Australia, Chile's best, Argentina's best. It was really great. Cinquenan, and all the wines were just like, you know, we had a table of 14, and the whole room was divided. Every single wine, 3 people would raise their hand for their favorites in each of the flights. It's really an active, fun way to taste. If you ever get a chance to do those with us, please come and join. Kent was there, and it's just about as much fun as you can possibly have when you're tasting the best. This wine is just an absolute stunning Brunello. If you don't like this one, you may not like Brunello. That's what it comes down to. Our last wine of the night, but certainly not the least, one of my all-time favorite producers in Barolo. In fact, if somebody were to ask me my favorite Barolo, this probably is the one that would hit that mark. Barolo is just a hyper passionate place, and I have been so fortunate to be able to go and see Alfio a couple of times in Barolo, and to see their winery, which is so blessed by having the best possible land. And then their style is all about letting that land shine through. Let's taste. I got to have a nice meeting with Alfio on Zoom.
And I think you're going to love our next guest, Alfio Caviolotto. is with us today, winemaker at Caviolotto Barolo. Good morning, good evening to you, Alfio.
Good morning, thank you. So we are in the central Barolo area, in a small village. I'm the fifth generation of a wine producer in Castiglione Falletto. My grandfather, after a while, decided to produce his own wine from his own vineyard, moving in Bricoboscis. So we were before in another hill in Castiglione Falletto, but in 1928, my grandfather moved and he bought the entire hill called Bricoboscis, and of course the house and the cellar. Bricoboscis is a particular hill in Castiglione Falletto, so to grow the appellation Barolo was necessary to maintain and follow the same rules. So she has been a very, very important person for everybody of us. She died without a son, and she decided to devolve, to give the most part of the vineyards in Castiglione Falletto to Giuseppe Boschi. After that, my grandfather bought this hill. So thanks to my grandfather and my father very young, we began very early to produce our own wines. Of course, you can see on the picture the cellar for aging, our Barolo. It's a very classic, you can see we use a big cask, botti, so large cask, very traditional and classic kind to age wines. Of course, it's necessary have a long age in this particular kind of botti, so large. So you will taste the Barolo Bricoboscis 2017 that has been 3 years in this kind of botti. We have also Barolo Riserva that age more time, 5 years. And our most important Riserva of Barolo is come from Bricoboschi. So exactly the same wine you will have. And it's just a singular vineyard called the Vigna San Giuseppe. It's the central part of the hill, but also thanks to the clay, many different kinds of clay, in particular white clay, but also yellow and orange clay, that give more fruity sensation, more the wine could be also very dark in color sometimes, depending on the vintage.
You are the sole Barolo producer that we're presenting tonight, and not to take for granted, but our clients may or may not know, Nebbiolo is the particular grape variety for the Barolo region, and it is a very unique variety, and there's a lot of similarities to me with wines like Burgundy in the way that they're produced, the way that they're grown, and how these wines kind of age and really come together. The 2017 vintage itself, a warmer vintage, yes?
Yes, it's a warm, but in particular, the characteristic is that it's a very dry vintage, not just a warm, because the temperature in 2017 was okay, warm, but in the average after all. The particular characteristic of the season was dry weather all around the year.
And it makes wines that you can start to enjoy a little earlier, perhaps, than other vintages. And
yes, a little bit, yes, of course, is necessary in this kind of vintages. It's not considered, of course, a classical vintage, but a modern vintage. In the last 20 years, this kind of vintages are very common. Could be a problem for customers. All the style customers, because these vintages are not so, we say in Italian, austeri, very drinkable also right now. Of course, the wine become better and better and better for, I think, 20 years or more. So we don't speak about a Barolo that after a while go down in bouquet or maintain a dry tannicity. So the wine, even if the vintage is a particular vintage, must be perfect.
what would you recommend our guests think about eating with your wine? What is maybe something, first thing that popped into your head with the 17 vintage that we're drinking tonight? What is the dish that you think people should consider consuming?
I find fantastic Barolo with okay, but tuna is like a red meat, so it's very easy. But also sushi, sashimi, langoustine, grilled crabs, langoustine.
But it's always great to catch up with you and see you. It's been a long time since I got to talk to you in person.
Thanks a lot. And yes.
Thank you, Alfio.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
Nicest guy in Barolo. So I really enjoy their property. I've got a picture of Alfie and I about 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and just recently on a group I took there. Lisa, were you with us when we went the last time? I think you were. Yeah, fantastic. I'm wondering if Gary was with us too. I think he was. Wendy, were you there also? I think you might have been. So this wine, I think of all the wines that opened tonight, they opened beautifully. This one got a little more closed, and it's still real youthful. I think it maybe kind of went through a little bit of an arc, but it's, I mean, this wine you can tell has some ageability and some need to age just a little bit. Got a nice little moth in front of me. Come here, baby. Come here. So this one really is in a youthful state, but their wines are giants, and their property is magnificent, and it is so consistent, such a great producer, and I think it's a wine that I put at the top of my Barolo charts. I'm seeing some comments here. Very good. Your microphone's not working. Different. There's two Wendy C's. That's not Wendy Caldwell. I thought that was. Well, good to see you, Wendy C. I see you on the chart there. Gary, do you think that was Wendy? I thought it was. She was commenting often. But Lisa, any comments there for you? This is going to be close to home for you soon, right?
Well, something. I'm going in November. Going to start looking at property.
All right. Well, now officially retired, huh?
Rewired.
Rewired. I like it. I like that. Yeah. Well, congratulations again. And wonderful to have all of you here to taste these wonderful little gems, things that I really enjoy. I hope you enjoyed them as well. We have a good number of these wines available, even the Palo Bea. So if you like that, that's a pretty hard to get wine. I've seen some nice orders already coming in for the Manancourt, so thank you for that. Capogato, I own about 4 cases. The Barolo, not that much Barolo left. Yeah, the Barolo, I've got less than two 6-packs left, and the Brunello maybe 2 6-packs of that as well. So that's just kind of the state of the state. I'll move into the next vintages when these move along, but 17s are in a wonderful state. And this is not the end here. We've got some really fantastic Zooms coming down the pipeline. So let me just share with you what we have in store, because we love doing these and we're going to keep it up. We go from Italy to Beaujolais next week. The Beaujolais lineup is outstanding. We've got the Zaltos. We're going to use the Burgundy Zalto next week with our Beaujolais, some top Beaujolais wines. We'll go to Bordeaux the week after that, and we'll use the Bordeaux stem from Zalto. If you want, you don't have to. The kit's only $45 without the Zalto. The Zalto glass adds almost $100 to that. So if you want to stay without the Zalto, you can keep it nice and light in this difficult time. We want to be able to do that for you. We teach a couple of fun classes. I do an online version of Wine Camp, and my wine, cheese, and chocolate program, which will feature 3 wines and 3 chocolates. Three wines with 3 chocolates, 3 wines with 3 cheeses, so 6 wines total, and really top lineup going into there. Our next big event in cooperation with Learn About Wine and the full team will be the Heroes of Cabernet, and we'll be sending out an email about this event in the next couple of days. But Heroes of Cabernet features, again, these are wines I really want to share with you, and to keep that price point kind of in the right position, because I did use some really expensive wines on this flight. We're going to show you one of my all-time favorite wines, and I almost used it in this Heroes of Italy, is San Leonardo, and it is a cab blend from Alto Adige. So we'll save that for Heroes of Cab. The 17 again, really an awesome wine from Italy. Then from Chile, the La Pastole Parcel 8, the very old vines from Apalta. We featured this wine in our 100-point dinner the other day. From Australia, Vase Felix. This is the Tom Cullity, I think is how you pronounce that. This is, I love their $24 bottle of wine. This is their $240 bottle of Cabernet. So really a spectacle. And this is a great winery to visit when you're in Western Australia near the Margaret River. So we're making it pretty international and not just a Napa tasting, but we will have a great Napa producer, Russell Bevan, will be joining us to taste Adversity, Melanson Vineyard, one of the top wines. Just got 97 points, by the way. We'll be tasting that with him. And L'Aventure, Stefan Aseo, 100-point wine from Paso. So pretty killer stuff, huh? That's a pretty righteous lineup right there. And that's a great little package. What does that cost us now? Let me rekindle that. We're at $80 for that lineup. So a little bit more than most of them. The 2 kit specials, $150. So if you want to join us, get involved there. There are bottle kits at $750. That's the cost of that kit. I don't see the Zaltos offered. Well, I guess that doesn't make sense because we probably won't have Zaltos by the time this event comes around. They just don't last very long. They're super allocated and gone before you know it. But the Zoom into Wine thing is really fun for us, and we'll keep it going. Visit us at Learn About Wine or Zoom into Wine. It's been a lot of fun producing these events, and we'll keep it going. My team's getting pretty good at it. and hope you guys enjoy the product. And thank you for coming back again and again. To all of you, I hope you have a great night. I know our Dodgers are fighting an uphill battle. We'll see if they can pull it off. But it's been a fantastic season. I'm going to miss baseball. It's like my daily addiction. I get a little bit each day. I go about 3 months of withdrawals after it's over. Can't believe it's over. 162 games already. But it's really a fun sport. Now I'm going to try to pay attention to something else for the next 90 days while I get through this. But we got a couple more innings of pain to get through as Dodger fans. So we'll see how it goes. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Ian.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, Kathy.